Hi everyone, welcome back to The Learning Gardener. If you haven't been here before, my name is Pip and it has stopped raining for more than 5 minutes. So we are going to take advantage of that and get out in the garden and do a few things for as long as the weather holds out. And because I'm like a gardening addict that has been pressed up against the window for the last couple of months, being tortured by the presence of the garden nearby, but the persistence of hideous weather, if it does rain, we're probably switching over to the GoPro. So just don't be shocked if the image quality changes. But the first thing we're going to do is not waste our harvest. Something I wanted to do a little differently this year is the way I harvest. Generally speaking, I don't want to try and harvest a huge amount all in one go. It makes it really difficult for me to stay on top of the harvest and to get everything processed while it's at its peak freshness. Oh, heart attack! Oh my god! Raffy! You scared the bejesus out of me. My concern with harvesting a huge amount all at once is that while it's fun and makes for a really fun video to film, and while it makes me feel like I've achieved greatness in the garden, as I said, it's hard to process while it's still at its maximum freshness. And the whole point of growing my own food is to maximize the nutrients that in the food that I'm eating. And for things like, for instance, spinach, I forget what the actual amount is, but it degrades the nutrient value so fast. So basically by the time you buy it from the supermarket, it's got almost no nutrients left. But with our broccoli, we have got some that is starting to open. And given the fact that it is starting to open, that means it's time for it to harvest, whether it's one or multiple. And I was so pumped about growing broccoli this year. I'm so worried they weren't going to turn into decent trees. And I'm really stoked that we're actually going to get some broccoli. Like, really stoked. So even though a lot of the broccoli is going to get picked today, oh well, we will have to rally and make sure that it gets processed, and we're definitely having one for dinner tonight. So we're going to come through this bed, and I think there's one other bed that has a few that are ready, and we're going to harvest our broccoli. This year I mostly grew an Italian sprouting broccoli, a Waltham broccoli, and another type that I can't remember, but I will put on the screen if I can find it. And some of them produce little side shoots here where they produce more and more broccoli. Now, unfortunately, these ones have been a little bit disappointing this year, and they've been very quick to open up. Some of the other heads hopefully will get a little bit bigger, but because I'm going away in a couple of days, I want to harvest the ones that are starting to open and get as good a broccoli as I can, rather than getting a slightly more open, poorer quality. Because a lot of the broccoli has done this all season and has been opening and flowering and basically struggling to even be broccolini, I've decided these ones that have started to flower, I'm just going to leave them for the pollinators. We're about, let's say, 2.5 weeks from spring, and I want to make sure that there is some flower in the garden that is going to make the bees happy when they emerge from their cool season hibernation. While I'm out here, I'm going to grab a few sweet peas. I think these are the high sense variety. They smell like, almost like a lavender infused perfume that you wouldn't actually recognize as lavender, which is a really weird description, but it is so divine. And I want to cut some of these, even though I want to support the bees as they emerge from winter and as the new baby ones emerge. They're going to want some blooms, but you know what? I've been so deprived of the outside world that I need to take some of the outside inside, because we've got more rain on the forecast, and I'm going to lose my marbles if we don't have a little touch of outside inside. And these, like, there is nothing like this smell in the garden. It is absolutely divine. Because our time outside has been so restricted by the weather, I didn't notice that the asparagus had started to come up. Today is, give or take, around the 8th or 9th of August, and last year the asparagus emerged on the 6th of September. And we have one little spear over here and 6 here. This one's already starting to open up. I only discovered these this morning, and I sort of debated whether I would harvest them, because if you guys remember, a couple of weeks ago we actually scraped out all the poop covered autumn leaves from the chicken coop and put it on top here, because I've been hopeless at composting this bed before the asparagus emerges historically, and last year we didn't produce enough asparagus, so I thought I'm going to cut out the middleman and just put it straight on top. Well, if I scoop down, it has compacted quite a lot, but the leaves really haven't broken down at all. It's very, very wet under there because of the amount of rain we've had, even though I put a big fat layer of sugarcane mulch on top. But I think the process of that leaf litter breaking down has actually made the soil warmer, and the asparagus has been like, I guess it's springtime. So there is part of me that's like, do I even harvest this because it's pushed through chicken poop covered leaves? Is washing really adequate? Don't know. So I'm going to think about it some more before I decide what I'm going to do about it. But I'm really happy to see that the asparagus is doing well, and hopefully the soil in this bed will just keep on getting better. But it's kind of crazy to see them emerge a month earlier than normal. The next task we're going to do is one we started at the beginning of this rainy spell. We dug an emergency trench along here in front of the chicken coop. Because I live on a slight downward slope, we were getting so much rain that it was rushing down, and I could barely open the chicken door because like so much mud accrues in front of the door, and this corner of the chicken coop, which is lower, was quite wet. We could borderline call it a pond. So the trench did work, but we've had so much subsequent rain and I haven't been able to do anything with the trench, that especially here the trench has actually filled back up. So the chunks of soil that I had pushed off to the side, the rain's been so heavy that it's broken down the soil and the sand in it and just refilled the trench, which is totally awesome. But because Partridge Betty is sick, I've been coming down multiple times a day, and me treading through this area has made the mud even worse than it already was. Now, Partridge Betty is not really, despite spending many hours with her every day, she's really not significantly better. She still essentially has one paralyzed leg. I have been trying my damnedest to get this chicken to eat her vitamins and hoping that that's going to be enough to get her to get well. Now, there would be a lot of people watching this who potentially have homesteads who would just be like, come on man, it's a chicken. And to some extent I agree, but there is a really big part of me that is like, when I took on these animals, I made a commitment to make sure that they are okay. And so that is what I am trying to do. So to that end, I have finally found a vet that specializes in chickens. So she's going with me on Monday to that place. We're going to have to go for a bit of a drive to get there. But one way or another, we're going to get an answer as to whether she stays or not, or what we can do to help her. But in the interim, I have been, as I said, coming down multiple times a day to check she's eating, to check she's got enough water, to make sure she's not being picked on when she's been out of jail, because she won't eat when she's in jail. It's been a whole palaver, but this area has become trashed. So what I want to do is redig the trench. I have bought some drainage pebbles. I didn't buy heaps because they're so heavy, but I want to, at the very least, sort out this front strip and maybe chuck some mulch on it so that I'm not sinking into ankle deep mud every time I come down to check on her, and sometimes losing my gumboot in the mud and not being able to pull it back out. So it's been really fun. And then if it's still not raining, which it's looking quite promising at the moment actually, which don't say it too loudly, then we might try and clean up this area a bit. I have been desperate desperate to do this area because I want to let the chickens out. I want to clean it up because it's a mess, because it has leftover products from when we built the coop. It has just stuff that's accumulated during the storm, stuff that needs to be put away in the shed. It's just a mess. But because of the weather, we haven't been able to do anything. So today's the day, hopefully. I'm just gonna try and get as much done as I humanly can and hope that the chickens will live a drier life, and for Pachi, a healthier one.
Tell me where to go. I'm not afraid to step outside and see the world for what it is. No, spending all my time with people that I barely know. You may have thought that I was lost, and all I need is room to grow. I'm coming home to put a flower in your hair. Thought you should know. Ain't no place I'd rather be instead.
With the soil I remove, I'm making a little pile just to the side of the trench. I'm hoping this, once I compact it down, will work a bit like a berm and direct other water from the rest of the garden away from the chicken coop when it rains really heavily, so that this drain doesn't get overwhelmed.
Tell me what you mean to me, and I'll build a house in Byron Bay, if that's exactly where you'll be. I'm coming home, put a flower in your hair. Thought you should know, ain't no place I'd rather be instead. No.
This is the best draining option I could come up with when there's nothing pipe wires to connect to and a whole lot of tree roots. So I'm using a permeable material that allows water through, and you wrap the rocks up in that so that the water can still get through, but hopefully it keeps as much of the dirt and everything else out as possible. It is UV sensitive, so it does have to be covered with something, but the idea is basically that the rocks don't get clogged with mud, and that allows for drainage to occur. Managed to dig a nice deep trench all along this front line, and now I'm just going to cover it with some mulch, and if it has a slight divot down, that's totally fine, because then that can be an area where water accumulates rather than running into the coop. The 3 bags I had of drainage material was predictably not enough, so I had to do a bolt to the local nursery, and thank God they had some blue metal. So at the very least I've finished and done like a slight curve around the corner. The sides will have to be sorted out another day because we're soon to be running out of sunlight. On the plus side, we found a couple of grubs, gave them to Partridge Betty, and she was so excited about them that not only did she run across the coop with one dodgy leg, but she damn near bit my finger off. So that's a good sign, I guess. This is the same method I used last time I was making trenches last winter, and it's worked really, really well. I don't obviously have anywhere to drain it to, so I'm just guiding the liquid out and down towards the back river. The problem is when you hit tree roots and the base of trees, and there's no way you can dig around them, but you've just got to make the best of the situation as you can. Putting the mulch on top will absorb some of the rain, which is great, and it slows the water down, which is also great because then it doesn't just cascade into the chicken run, but it also will cover the mud so that I can walk here without just constantly making it infinitely worse. We don't have a huge amount of mulch left, so it might not be enough to get the job done, but we'll just do the best we can with what we've got, and if we need to reassess and maybe get more mulch, then that might be what I have to do. But for now, I just want to get these passageways covered up, and at the very least mulch in front of the door where the worst of the mud is from me coming and going. Which of you is making a funny noise? Nobody's being poked by anyone. You be nice to each other. So I'm going to keep going, wrapping up the stones so they don't just get immediately clogged by the mud and therefore drain terribly. But I hope you guys have enjoyed hanging out with us outside for a beautiful afternoon without rain. It's just been so nice to be able to do something outside for a change. But I'm going to keep going with this job and hopefully get it all done. But thanks so much for hanging out with us, and I hope we'll see you next time on The Learning Gardener.
Watching the sunset on Tennessee hills, I wish I could capture it, I never will. 'Cause I'm not a painter, can't stay in the lines. Just sitting here sipping on dandelion wine. It's starting to rain, but I don't feel a thing. Sitting out rocking on that old porch swing. 'Cause I found me something that tastes like springtime. Just sitting here sipping on dandelion wine. All my life I've
Here, Pachi. No boo.